Good evening, everyone. I'm Professor Anderson Rocha, and I'm here today with Professor Marcus Endler. Professor Endler is from the Department of Informatics at the Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro, and I'm from the Institute of Computing here in Campinas, São Paulo. About 1.5 years ago, our institute, along with Department of Informatics at the Catholic University of Rio, we decided to create what we called Conexão Rio-Campinas, which is a way of fostering key talks and discussions about science and technology and AI and other related topics. And today we have the honor to count with Fiorella Henriquez, who is a senior researcher at the Coca-Cola company. She is working with the Coca-Cola company as a senior director data and analytics for Latam, currently based in Costa Rica. Before that, she also worked, I think, for 13 years at Procter Gamble, right? And we approached Fiorella to talk to us today about data science and AI for a different kind of industry. This industry has some particularities. It's very dynamic, and the profits are like on a thin razor when you consider per element basis. But of course, if you do the right choices, you can have better decisions. So, Fiorella, thank you for joining us today. Typically, we have in this meeting about 45-50 minutes, give or take, for discussion for the presentation, and then we go for some discussions. In the name of the Institute of Computing, I would like to thank you for accepting this invitation. I hand over to Marcos to see if he has something to say, and then we go with you. And I think that you will be able to share your screen. Marcus?
Yeah. So good afternoon, and thank you very much, Lorella. And it's a pleasure to have you here sharing your experience in data science and AI. And I think it's the first talk, or I'm not sure if it's the first talk of a person which comes from industry and gives us some insight in how data science and AI is being used in a particular industry. So we are very excited about this opportunity and looking forward for your talk. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Marcus. Fiorella, the stage is all yours. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you. I like always to share what I know, but also to hear from the experience from other people, and now especially from the people in the academics that I found very, very interesting. And of course, I would expect that you also provide your input and your questions, and the discussion piece would be very interesting for me. So let me start sharing my screen over here. Great. You should be seeing it right now.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I just got the beginning of the flu, so maybe I need to pause for a second to take some water. Okay, great. So why am I here? I will talk a bit about myself, my career, the steps I have been taking along the way. And then I will share a bit on the use cases that I found more interesting for AI applications. Of course, a lot of analytics are already in place, but I think that there is a full spectrum of AI applications that we can start taking there. Of course, all the companies in this industry, which is FMCG, these are the consumer goods company that, as was mentioned by Anderson, these are a massive selling companies, right? We make a margin from the amount and the volume versus maybe other more specialized industries that are more into the maybe luxury or not such goods as in this area. So it's a very interesting one. I would say that overall, the industry has just started or later than the tech industry. So after the Googles, the Facebook, this type of technology companies, we have started later the path in the data analytics side, but it is accelerating very fast among all the companies that I've seen, not only the ones that I have been working on, but also the ones that are in the industry. So it's pretty interesting because we have a lot of path to continue building. And one, this meme, sorry that is a bit blurred, but one thing that I found myself all the time, and you will see why in the development of the presentation, is this type of thing. Like we use a lot of linear regression, saying, okay, we're already doing data science, and then and then we just want to continue doing that. So it's pretty common that the terms in the industry are being used in different ways, and a lot of the time we need to, as professionally in the field, we need to continue educating the rest of the functions, the rest of the organization on what specifically is analytics or what is artificial intelligence and what this can bring to the table. But I would say that it's a journey and it's a continuous path, and not just a point in time where you just start doing something in this area. So I'm going to talk about a bit on the challenges, but also because I think that the challenges bring a lot of opportunities, right? So if we find a challenge, then we have options to go and tackle those, and then bring even more value to the company or to the organization in which we are participating. So I'm Fiorella. People call me Fio. You can call me Fio. I'm Peruvian. I studied informatics engineering start in 2005 or 5th in the Pontificia Universidad Católica from Peru. I also started my internships in my 3rd grade of the career. I started as a teacher. I enjoy teaching, enjoy sharing my knowledge in the best way possible so people can understand. So hopefully you understand this presentation. So I started there, and then I moved into P&G, which is Procter Gamble. This company sells products in different categories. For example, Ariel, Pantene, Tide, Pampers, Gillette, Oral-B, just to give you an idea of what type of brands they sell. And I started as a, I would say, project manager for implementation of data systems. So I work to bring data from our partners, which in some cases were retailers, let's say Carrefour, Casino, Pau de Azúcar, this type of retailers. And in the other case were distributors, which were buying from us and then selling to the store in each corner, right? So we work with a lot of these partners, which were our key customers, to bring the data from their sales so we can partner and understand what are the important trends happening in their business, their results, etc., to analyze our categories, our results, and work together to enhance our sales plan or our marketing plans. So this was very interesting because it was just in the beginning, I would say, of data and data ingestion in this type of companies, how data could bring value. And I would say that even at the beginning, it was just more for reporting purposes. Like I want to understand how are my sales, if I am meeting my targets and this type of stuff. But then we started to see all the value that actually this data can provide to the business apart from just a reporting. So a pretty interesting one, but also I started to learn about all the challenges that we have when we work with data, that probably you are very, very aware of those, like the quality of the data. Sometimes when we study, right, the courses or in university, all the data comes clean, all the data comes very tidy in the right format, or you buy it directly. But then when you go and work with customers, for example, as in this case, data comes with gaps, with missing pieces, incomplete. Sometimes it comes late or with different attributes that change in time and you're not expecting that to happen. So I think that helped me a lot to understand what are the data, let's say, base concepts that I need to understand. And so when I started in the actual analytics space, it helped me a lot to understand this. So after that, I started as system manager in 2010. I was hired after my internship in this company. And I continued to work more directly with retailers to implement this type of systems, even expand the set of customers we have into our system as well. Oh, sorry. After that, I moved and started as an analyst in Peru, specifically for the modern retail channel, which is these retailers like supermarkets, pharmacy chains, this type of customers. And I would say that at that point in time, 12 years ago, was the beginning of the analytics area in the company for Latin America. So I was designed this role, like I was assigned this role, like, okay, Fiorella, you are now the business analyst for this modern trade channel. Please go and analyze. Thank you. And it was really, I don't know, a very important time in my career, because I felt like I didn't have really the skills to go and analyze with whatever that means, right? I started to look for trainings, to look for people that had experience in the area, because I was not the only one. All of us, all the MIS in Latin America were starting the same way. And there were a couple of regions like Europe or US that were a bit more advanced, not that much, but a bit more, that we started to connect with them to understand, okay, what can we do with the data and what do we need to analyze? But on the other hand, in the organization, they didn't really understand, okay, now you change your role from system manager to analyst. Okay, what that means, right? Like they were not really expecting. And I would say that that's the case in many small companies yet in our company, in our countries in LATAM, that they do not really understand, okay, what data can bring to the table, right? They are just thinking on my sales targets, my marketing campaigns, etc. And until you show what you can do, it's difficult to really sometimes sell if the person has not been really involved, like in the AI or analytics space. So it was a very important challenge. And I started, I think, from the basics, just understanding, okay, what are the KPIs for these people in my organization, in this channel, that the ones that are working with the retailers, why they are measured for? Like, what are they receiving the bonus at the end of the year for? What are the metrics that they are looking for? Is it just sales? Do they have a specific target? How they generate those targets? How they get those targets? How they build the plans with the customer? How the customer thinks? So all of this understanding of the processes behind and how they were awarded for was very important to understand, okay, where do I can provide value, right? Because if I just start from whatever point, it's difficult. But I would say that organizations that just start in this path on analytics need to go from the very, very, very basic, that, okay, this is the data you have already today, and how you can start bringing value from the very basics that sometimes is even a simple report. And I have found also that at some points, these people in other companies in the industry or in other industries learn, oh, analytics, oh, data science, oh, artificial intelligence, like the golden piece, right? And they, okay, I need a data scientist in my organization. Let's hire a data scientist. You bring the data scientist, and then you don't don't know what to do with a data scientist because you don't have enough data. You don't really need the skills of a data science. You need maybe the skills of a person that it's more into the, let's say, business intelligence side or analysis, specifically on more basic analysis, and you don't really need the power, let's say, yet of a data scientist. So I always recommend that the people in the companies or the data scientists that are also applying for roles in these companies understand really well what the description of the role is, because sometimes we call data scientist a role, but if you see the description in another company, it's the same type of work that a data analyst is doing, or a data engineer even is doing, or a business intelligence manager is doing. So from this, I got a lot of interesting things that I saw 12 years ago that I continue to see today in many other companies that are just starting in this path, right? So I find that really interesting. So then I moved to see not only one channel, but actually total Peru. So that included the traditional channel, which is the biggest channel in our type of countries. The same happens in Brazil. The traditional channel is very big, and the kiosks, the one checkout stores, two checkout stores is a very big channel. And it was a challenge because different to other regions like Europe or US, we do have those type of channels very strong and being the majority in the country. But in those other cases, they are more modern. They have more supermarkets, more chains, and a more modern channel. While in Latin America, we have a more traditional channel strength. So to me, it was also a challenge to work directly actually with an analysts in Brazil to understand what is the differences that we can provide to the business, analyzing data for traditional channel versus what we only knew because we learned from the other regions, which was modern channel. And we were understanding also how to work with the customers, which also had more basic systems like ERPs that were dependent on one person, or that if I don't know, they were in some zone of the country that didn't have so much internet access, then we will lose the data input for 1-2 days, depending on the access to internet or access to electricity. So all those challenges, I think, are very important when we start tackling an analytics or a AI even project, because we have different particularities depending on where do we obtain the data. And in the case of these companies in FMCG, these are the realities. Like we work with partners that are in different levels of modernization of their systems. So it's always interesting to work with them. Well, then I moved to start building solutions for total Latin America, and I started to build in that time in Spotfire software. Then I learned Tableau, Power BI, this type of other software. But in that time was that, and I start learning about how we can standardize, which is another very important thing in this industry. We need to begin a project or a model, let's say, in the future that I did, but then we need to understand, okay, how can we expand that into total country, into more countries, and even into a global scale, because we need always to create a scale and be smart with our choices of investment, because as you know, resources are scarce all the time. So I started to learn what is the best way to build solutions that serve a lot of people, but at the same time are not one for each person. So another interesting step. Then I started to see some IT type of projects, because we learned that besides we were progressing a lot in the analytics roadmap, we had still a lot of opportunities still in the ERPs from the distributors, or in the data sets we were getting. So we needed to kind of get back a bit to accelerate the quality of the data that we were receiving, the operations from the process that was generating those data points coming to the system afterwards. After that, I started to see also more countries, Colombia, Chile. I was in a project also in Brazil. Then I learned a bit of Portuguese after that project, that I was very excited to start to learn that. And in 2017, almost 6 years ago, I moved to Panama with my family and moved to this other type of role. As you can see in my previous piece of the career, I was very focused on supporting sales teams. So traditional channel teams, modern retail, the ones that were working directly with a retailer, with the distributors, and even with the stores. And then I moved to a different type of role, which was supporting the marketing team. In this case, marketing team for Gillette brand for Latin America and Oral-B brand for Latin America as well. So it was a different change of mindset, because you start to see other pieces of the organization that also require more data, different type, but also need the visibility of that complete execution. So I would mention then a bit of projects that I started then connected to AI. I started my master. I one course to finish it, and I started this analytics science master degree. Then I moved to another role, which was now not only tackling execution data, marketing data, but now consumer and digital. So getting into the online world with data sets as social media, Facebook, Google, YouTube, etc., and also working with the agencies that prepare our marketing campaigns on TV or on the digital platforms, to also move from this more, let's say, offline world to the online world, that and we can also do a lot of opportunities over there. And then 1 year ago, I found this other opportunity and moved to Costa Rica to start in Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola company, as the LATAM analytics head. And finally, 1 month ago, I just moved to the role of the LATAM data analytics head. So now I have a team of 15 people that are working in all the spectrum of the data analytics side. We are also connecting with other data organizations in the world. We have a data science organization that provides support to us. We are upskilling the team to get also into those environments of work. But I would say that we started a bit in Coca-Cola, we started a bit later that we did before in P&G. So we started some years after. So it's just, it's like I am running my previous path of career, but in a faster mode, very, very fast. So what are some opportunity areas that I see in this type of companies? And I would say that it applies probably for other industries as well, but that I find more interesting. And I will mention some specific applications of AI that either I did or I found that can be done, or some people that I know in other regions did, and would like in the discussion piece to hear from you what types of ideas or things that you think we can even tackle more or do more, because, well, of course, you are the experts there. So, for example, in the marketing side, in marketing, we have plenty of opportunities all along the different teams inside marketing to run analytics and AI. For example, one is the consumer mapping and clustering. So for this type of industries, we need to understand very well our consumers. So who are they, and who, I mean, where they live, how they live, how many times they consume the product. Let's imagine a toothbrush. So how do you consume your toothbrush? Do you brush your teeth once a day, twice a day, 3 times, more, less? In which time? Before breakfast, after breakfast? with which toothpaste. Why do you like your toothpaste, or why do you like your toothbrush? What features are important for you? And this type of questions we are always get asked. And the challenges there are that it is difficult when you have this type of industries that you reach almost every people, not 100% of people in the world, but probably a lot of people. Or a lot of people brush their teeth and wash their hair and get a bath. So how do you map the world consumers? It's a lot of data that do not commonly it's available over there, or any vendor sells that. So what we need to do, and some opportunities that I think are interesting, is to find what are the data sets that are available over there that maybe are not really related to the specific category like toothbrush, but are available in other ways. Let's say, for example, the Google available data of location of different businesses, or different, or even, for example, ways how people, where are the location of more people or more concentration of people, or even white spaces where we are not getting with our products that we need to get there. I would say that there are a lot of data sets that even if they are over there available, it's difficult to really get there. And after getting there, finding what is the right logic or the right algorithm to, or the right model to say, okay, how do I need to cluster these people? So understanding the consumer, feature engineering the consumer by working together very close with marketing team and consumer understanding people, and then being able to run some clustering that they understand, that is easy to then make this actionable, is one of the biggest challenges, because more on the great number of consumers that we have. So I would say that's a pretty important one. And as this is a more offline world, you sell these things, people buy them, touch them with their hand, and it's not that online, then it's difficult to map all the people and all the consumers and how they prefer to use the category. So that's a big bucket for opportunity. Then the other one that I worked directly was package design. So today, I don't know if you have seen any package design, but there are a lot of opportunities to make package design not only more attractive to the consumers, but also that they understand what we are selling, they understand what are the benefits for this product. And I run some projects with trees, many types of trees and version and boosted versions of trees, to first, well, before the trees, first to absorb some pictures from the products, kind of absorb the features from the absorb the features from the pictures, and you need to understand very well, okay, what features are important to the consumer for that. Learn a lot of psychology of consumer, package design, etc. concepts, and then be able to convert pictures into what are the most important features that the consumers are finding in them, to then provide a recommendation. Okay, you have design one today. These are the important features that you do have. These are the important features that you do not yet have in your package. So this is my proposal for you to improve your package. So I would say that this is a super great opportunity area, because now we have more algorithms and more models and more advanced, especially on the computer vision space, that maybe I did in a very basic way with some the composition of pictures, but now we have a full set of opportunities to understand very well, okay, how this package is designed, is composed, and what are the attributes that I can map, so I can provide a better recommendation. And not only I think applies for package, but also going to the next one, to shelf. So we sell these products generally in shelves, not only in shelves in the retailers, but in shelves in the small store. How is the best arrangement? And that's one of the key things that are defined in this type of companies. What is the best arrangement of our products in the shelf so it can provide more value to the consumer, to the company, to the customer? So how can everybody be happy with that? What is the best? Do this shampoo needs to go to the left or to the right? Do these, I don't know, other type of products in this line? What needs to go up or down, or if the store is smaller, how it works versus a store that is bigger. So we need to provide an arrangement recommendation for each of the types of stores, including the position, including maybe the size or even the package space that it takes. So it maximizes value and margin for all the chain. So this is also very connected, I think, to computer vision, because we have commonly a lot of pictures of the shelves that our sales for or other agencies that work for this type of companies take from the trade. And it's just a matter of, well, I say it's just a matter, but it's a super big, complex project and challenge of kind of processing those pictures to understand what are the drivers and what recommendation I can provide in terms of shelf arrangement. So it's another big space very connected to package, and also understanding what new products or innovation we could launch. These industries are very based to sell the base portfolio that we all know, like the more common brands and so on, but also the consumer is always asking for innovation. They want new versions. If you have, I don't know, detergent, now you want the detergent for the baby and the detergent for the with this special smell and this type of stuff. So one big bucket is to understand where is the consumer trend going, what they are talking about, maybe in social media, maybe they are looking in searching in Google, what are the things that are coming, so you can detect those trends and improve your different products based on what the people is wanting. And this can happen based on a new, I don't know, a new type of chemical that comes, and now you understand that this awesome for your hair, but this could also come from a famous person or an influencer that started talking this, and this created a trend. So how to capture these trends that happen in the world that are not in your company, are not necessarily in your customers, but that your consumers are aware, are talking about, and how to detect those trends and provide a recommendation for that to a new product. So that's a whole new space that I have seen very, very few vendors that are getting into those types of use cases, all of them with AI, all of them with big data processing from basically data available there in the internet, like what people is looking for, is searching, what they are talking in forums, in social media, this type of stuff. So very, very interesting also bucket of opportunity. So moving into the sales piece. Sales piece, you imagine a lot of people that work directly with the distribution chain. So the retailers contacts, the distributor contacts, and at the same time, these retailers with their own merchandisers in the store, and the distributors with the stores they serve, and the stores with a final shopper. So this specific piece of the chain. So very, very important things for sales is the sales representative, which is a person that goes to a store and sells. This generally happens in the traditional channel. So a big challenge in the sales representative or distribution industry or piece of the industry is the rotation or the turnover they have in their sales force. So these people are generally enter a company, and the turnover, the speed in which they get out of the company is fast, because they change from company to company. It's people that has a special situation there. So working with people that has a high turnover is difficult, because you need to onboard them into how they need to sell, which is the portfolio that you sell in your company, which are the benefits of each of the products, how is the shelf arrangement that they need to reinforce when they get into the store, because they are like the last mile people that they get into a store and they are able to suggest, for example, to the store owner, look, if you put this product next to this other one, you will improve your sales because, I don't know, they are bought generally together by the consumer, by the shopper. Okay, so these people is super important. It's like the key piece in the chain, but as they have a high turnover, it's difficult to train them again. The learning curve is not that short, and we need them to be ready all the time to launch the new products, to promote the new promotions to the trade, etc. So how we can guide this execution? So to have, generally now they all work with a smartphone, that they have an app. How we can improve that app? So we do the selling process the most guided as we can, and this requires a lot of modeling behind, because let's say that piece one, they need to get into the store and see how their stock is, or what are the new promotions they need to offer. But this store is different to this other store that is even in the same road, because they sell different portfolios, they sell to different consumers. I don't know, this can happen. So how can we map very well the sales of each of the stores to provide a differentiated recommendation to each of the store? Imagine the Amazon recommendation, yeah, right? Like the product recommendation for Amazon, go people or person to person. This recommendation can be also applied to the stores. So how we can recommend something to this store because it makes sense to this store, but a different thing to this other store. And it is super difficult if you need to onboard or prepare or train a new person to just memorize all the things that they need to know. It's better if you automate that and if you put that into an application. But of course, with a machine behind that, they need to generate those recommendations or whatever other type of plans that we need to promote. Other thing is the execution guidelines compliance. How can we ensure that the shelf arrangement recommendations that we did to this store, then when the store, the sales representative or the agency or whoever goes into a store ensures that they are complying with a shelf because it's the best for us, for all of us in the chain, I would say. So to go store by store and validate with let's say a checklist. Okay, they have complied with this position is to a left to this. This product is left to this other. Okay, check. Now this one is on top. Okay. Now the cooler is in this place. Okay. Now the store owner has put these price tags all over the place because it's better that the consumer knows what the price is. Okay. So they need to go with a checklist to understand if all the execution guidelines have been complied, and it is super time demanding and it increases the cost of this workforce. So what the industry is moving is into getting this from pictures again. So how can we take a picture from the shelves executed and that the machine detects if they have complied with a checklist or not. So you don't need anymore a person that goes and completes a checklist, but takes a picture and the machine should do the checklist for you and provide actually recommendations that go again back to the guided sales so they can ensure that they are complying with everything that is required to, I don't know, gain a price or gain a promotion or something like that. So that one is connected with the marketing. Actually, all at the end is very connected. And finally, the trade plan optimization. We need to understand what type of plans work better for each store. And now not only in a traditional channel, but in any channel or in any store that works better for this store to promote more a product. Sometimes a discount promotion works better. Sometimes is it a combo with a gift for the consumer. Sometimes it is, I don't know, a more premium product because people in this neighborhood likes this type of premium products and things like that. So how can we detect trends and patterns from the data, but it's a lot of data, it's a lot of stores, and how can we, let's say, clusterize that, understand, find what is the optimization point for each of them, thinking that we are thinking on a store-by-store case, and then how to provide a recommendation back in an automated way for the sales execution or the sales representative to execute or recommend at the store. So it's an entire cycle where you get more data in different ways, via systems, via pictures, via online sources, etc. How you process that, find recommendations, and loop that back into the execution. And after that, you learn from the execution, from what you recommended, how it went, and you do this type of cycle, right? Now moving into the planning piece, this is more on the people that is in the offices, helping or serving the salespeople and the marketing people to do better their work. So we have there very, I would say, basic cases, but that are super important and critical in any company, which are the sales and share forecasting. This is besides now forecasting, it's a very common area where every data scientist has some experience, or is not that difficult to do. The difficult piece is how can we make it explainable, how it is at the end translating in something that it's kind of common sense to the people, because especially for sales and marketing people, they are the ones, and especially sales, they are the ones that will commit their salary or their incentives or their targets to this, right? So we need to ensure that the forecasting really makes sense to them. They understand how it is calculated. Besides, they do not really understand the model code line by line in the code. They really need to understand and commit to that, because they are the ones that will deliver that, right? So it is, I would say, more here art and science combined into this specific process. Then we have all the buckets in strategic revenue management, which are related to how can we generate more value from the same products or things we have. So this is very related to price optimization, promotion optimization. How can we optimize our portfolio as well? What are the products that maybe are not really selling that much or not making that much sense to sell in this type of retailers, neighborhood, channel, etc. So how can we make more money out of the same thing? And this is, as it is so big, generally this area is a whole area in many companies. We also need to provide a lot of recommendations that are easy to understand, actionable, but at the same time that they use the data as the base, because this type of decisions very commonly are taken based on, I would say, very high level analytics sometimes, or even gut feeling. So we need to really provide the data behind, and the models, the optimization models that sometimes also forecasting on how this will how my recommendation will impact these X plans, so you can be assured that it will work, or that I have confidence on how much value it will bring. Same happens with the budget allocation in different cases. We have a scarce resource, scarce money to invest in a plan, a promotion, execution, a shelf arrangement support plan, etc., or even a number of sales representatives. To which stores do I need to go first, right? Which are the ones that I need to prioritize? Which type of portfolio products I need to prioritize when selling? Which type of promotions make more sense? Or if I have $1, what should I do with that dollar? Should I do a discount? Should I include a gift in the promotion? Should I go to another store? Should I start a Facebook campaign? I don't know. So it's about how do we invest better our money, and now it not only taking into account one type of these buckets, but all of them. Like I have $1, in which one I need to do my investment. And finally, I think that is more common and famous right now, and probably the area where we can get more data is a digital piece, helping in the marketing campaigns in all the different social media products that we have. The industry generally is very heavy into marketing campaigns, not only in digital, but also in the offline side. But this is a very important place where we need to start providing recommendations on how to do it better, how to recommend, for example, our products on the e-commerce platforms that we are, because many of these companies have many e-commerce platforms. They are not just in one of them. And also mapping and optimizing the customer journey. So where do the customers start finding me in the digital space? So they find me, I don't know, generally in social media. How do they go to the next click? They go to, let's say, Amazon. Okay, then in Amazon, how do they do the search? How do they decide to finally buy my product or not? What are the drivers in digital that they use? Is rating and reviews? Is it the picture? Is it the price? Is it, I don't know, that we are in Black Friday? What is it that the customer, the path of the customer to finally buy that product in digital? So that's also a big space. It seems kind of basic, but it interacts a lot of different platforms that support each piece of the customer, and we need to understand well what works best in each of them via feature engineering, that via models that optimize that path, via validation and finding the drivers of each of the purchases that have been done in this type of journey. So wanted to give a big broad space on how this type of companies work, similar to many others, of course, probably, but highlighting some of the biggest opportunities that we have there. I would say that there are already some of them doing some of the use cases, but definitely it's still a big opportunity area across, and that probably there are other industries that are more advanced in this, like banks or tech, right? I would say that probably they are one step ahead, but as this industry is catching up very fast, so it's important to continue showing the value that analytics and AI can drive, but also ensuring that they have the basics, okay, they have the data, okay, they have the right understanding on when to use AI and when not to use AI. That's another very interesting challenge. It's not all about models in every problem the business has. Some cases it's just a matter of a good dashboard or a good presentation in PowerPoint showing you the opportunities, but in many cases, it is important to build the right model and solve the right business question in a more structured way that you can then automate and just leave running behind. So with that, I close my presentation. We like to get into input. What do you think about? What are your questions? What you find interesting? What you have seen already?
Thanks a lot. Let me put myself on spotlight again. I will start making some fun about that that figure that you put about the linear regression. So I know that in big companies, especially in this kind of industry that you have lots of data. And indeed, I have a colleague that went to Google, and of course, there they have lots of data as well. And he was telling me that one employee forgot to take out the printf on a code that was dumping the log on the disk. And after 8 hours, this employee discovered that printf something, and that it was like terabytes of text with this printf. So this makes things like very complicated. We know that in academia, normally we strive for finding the best method. It can be the most complicated as long as you have the best result. But in an industry like yours, perhaps the gold the good old-fashioned AI methods, the GoFi, would be most appropriate. So I know that you did a joke about this linear regression, but how often do you have to choose like between the good old-fashioned like linear regression, logistic regression classifier, and you would like to use something more sophisticated, but you don't have the bandwidth to do that?
More than you think. I would say that based on the more on the like the development of the industry, we're still catching up and covering the basics. So based on that, we're just covering the basics that maybe other industries already have. We do need to still do a lot of the, the old-fashioned AI type of models that we have. Not only because maybe the organization is still in that stage yet, but also a very important factor is because generally, and what I found, because it's a challenge also for me, the professionals in our field do not see FMCG industry companies as a place where you can do something in tech. Not even in analytics or AI, in tech. IT, they do not have an IT area, so
Well,
and it happened to me when I was studying my career. I was like, okay, I was thinking in tech companies, in banks. That was my and when I found out this company and this area, I fell in love with analytics and AI and all the area, but that doesn't generally happen because of this lag they had into finding out that, oh, data and analytics are good and are a good source of value. So I think based on those two things, the organization stage, the data analytics path that has been lagged, but also the professionals are not really looking into this type of companies. So then you need to upskill a lot of people. And in that way, well, you kind of, remain on the center.
Nice. Well, there is a thinker, I don't know if you know him, it's called Peter Diamandis, and he talks about the future, and also he has plenty of experiences with like the X Prize. He is the founder of the X Prize, and he says that in a particular industry that still does not care about data analytics, it's only a matter of time. It will happen either way. One, because someone else starts and does this better than you do your product. This might happen. Or because you see that can improve your way of doing things. So one way or another, you're going to need to do it. And the other question that I have here is from Aurea, to whom I already thank you, Aurea, for making this talk possible. She is asking if you see any example of deep learning in your area. This goes in the same line that I did the first one. For example, in the oil industry, she sees many agnostic people. But what happens in your industry in terms of deep learning? Because in that case, you have the data. Deep learning means I need data. And in your case, you have the data. Why aren't you considering these and you go for the good old-fashioned AI method? So
yeah, I would say because again, because of the stage of the industry in this area, and probably it varies company by company, but you in the analytics area still need kind of to convince people in the organization that this is well, I don't think it's just to convince. They know that this is the future. They know that this is actually the present, that we need to get there. But at the same time, they also need to understand the things. So in deep learning, and getting into the explainable deep learning is not something yet that is embedded into this industry. So just providing deep learning things that people do not really understand, and you are asking people that are working with reports in many cases to understand and have not yet going into the ladder into, they maybe have not even learned about a linear regression model because these are a lot of people companies, and you have not talked definitely with all the people in the organization, right? So maybe they have not been even aware of what a regression can do, a tree, they have not gotten into this. So when they are presenting something that they cannot understand, they just disconnect and they become agnostic. No, I don't trust you, I don't trust the model. Then you need to gain actually credibility, a place in your organization, and when you move all the people to trust in you, to believe in your models, to believe that you can provide value and show the value and have large projects that have shown that, then you can start bringing this type of new era models.
Yeah, I
and
understand.
they are accepting that, right? But
Yep.
you need to go all that path, and if you change role and another one comes, then that one needs again to earn that credibility. So I think it's more on that side.
Explainability is really a need nowadays, and indeed I'm right now reading this book just released like 2 months ago. It's called Human-Centric Artificial Intelligence, and it discusses a lot of what you're mentioning, why we need to understand things and how we can design new products and design new solutions with the human as the center of attention, and not like something that's a black box that decides to you. And I understand this position. Marcos here has a nice question. Very nice talk, Fiorella. I was wondering on your slide about opportunities for data analytics. I noticed the more tests regarding marketing, sales, etc. What about data from the production and or optimizing logistics? What do you think?
Yeah, so definitely production, supply chain, formulation of products are also big areas that apply. I have not worked that directly with them, so I cannot provide a set of examples there, but definitely work with people that work in that area. And I think in many cases, actually supply chain and research, especially for the formulation of products or formulas, are even a bit more advanced or started back faster than these other areas in the organization, because they were generally teams formed by researchers, academia people that move into those roles, and they are like, they know statistics, they know the models, they know there. But I think it has kind of people move there, and they are still using in many cases, I have not worked yet with a lot of this type of teams, but what I think is maybe they are using still the old-fashioned statistics models as well. So they remain on that side, and not necessarily they are evolving that fast there. So I think they started way back even faster than the other areas, but they have kind of settled down with the ones they have. I think this is also getting renewed. Definite supply chain, lots of opportunities, and also in the production side. So I would say definitely they started earlier, but we also need to do that work, and we also I say as analytics and AI professionals need to do those like connecting the dots, because maybe now we're working still in silos. Like I work with sales, I work with marketing, I work with finance, I work with, I don't know, supply chain only. And we are the ones that actually are the ones enabling the dots, because at the end, what we want, not really like that, but it's becoming a tech, kind of a tech company that is connecting all of their, or I imagine that they do so, connecting all of their areas into processes that seamlessly run all over the place. We are not there yet.
Please go ahead, Marcos.
Yeah, thank you much for this this answer. I think it's quite understandable, because I'm wondering all the time, because all the people, they keep saying that the digitalization is important for the business and in the companies, but I think that probably some areas need more digitalization than others. So if you have an old-fashioned brick and mortar company, at which part would you start adding some data analytics and AI? Which part? You think that your sector of the dealing with the customer is the best, or the buyers of your product is the best place, or would you start in a more and a fabric,
Factory.
You know.
Factory.
The factory.
Yeah, so I would say I would start where the money is. So who is the main area, and it happens differently in each company, even in the same industry. In different companies, you see who is the leading area. So in some companies, finance, they are the ones, they are, the rock stars in the company, the ones leading the strategy, etc. In some other cases, it's sales. No, they are the ones that define the strategy, define what is the type of support they get. In other cases, is maybe supply chain. In other is marketing. So depending on the type of company, I think we need to understand, okay, which is the area that is not up from told. It's not something that is common knowledge. You need to go and see the informal relationships with the organization, etc. Who has the biggest voice, and also at the same time, who has the biggest opportunities. Maybe you already in your, let's say, supply chain area, you already have your data digitalized, your processes. Generally, it happens a lot with supply chain, especially. You have a lot of things already done, and maybe in marketing, you have not used this type of solutions at all. So maybe you have the biggest opportunity there. But I would go with the one which is the leading area, because if they do that, the rest of the company will move in that way. What happens if you go with the area that is not, that much cared or something? Then it will be, of course, a good value, but the company will not move there that much. So I think it's more a soft skill than a hard skill in this case, choosing where to start. But at the end, I go with the people in any area that has a more pull. So I go with a pull is. I do not go that much with a push, like you need to use this. No, who is the people that is seeing this, is seeing the value here, and want to work with me? So I move with the flow, and then things start kind of getting in the right place.
Okay, thank you.
One thing that first of all, I'm going to do some marketing here. I've seen several interesting problems that you have, and here you have two representatives of like a very good universities, like a Unicamp and the Catholic University of Rio. So if you ever think about establishing partnerships with the universities, let us know.
Yes.
Perfect.
I know that you have several interesting problems there, and I'm sure that nice research could come up from those topics. The next question that I have is about the cultural values. I mean, you mentioned that you need to deal with several different countries, and I'm sure that each country has its own cultures and traditions. So how do you put these cultural values, how do you deal with these cultural values that are present in your data? I mean, you might find something that's interesting according to the point of view of Brazilians, but that point of view might not be of interest for Peruvians or for Chileans. So when you need to design these solutions, normally do you do that for the country, or you do for the whole region of Latin America, or you go even more segmented? You try to do like per region, like São Paulo, if it's the case of Brazil, because it's very local. So, I mean, how do you deal with these differences? Because the data that you have, it's complex, and the countries are complex.
It's very a lot of fun in this area. So yeah, definitely the lower in granularity you go, the more actionable to the people at the end, right? So when you present a Latin America overview, you can find easily somebody and say, no, but Brazil Nordeste is obviously different. You do not have any match with my reality, and definitely it probably is, right? Because an average is representing nobody. So so I do think that a country, at least country perspective, is very needed, especially when you're talking with people that are more in this planning strategy roles. You to them need to talk into, even clusters of countries. Definitely Brazil is a separate case because Brazil is so big that you are a cluster itself.
But each state is a country, right?
Each state is a context, exactly. So definitely Brazil is one, Mexico is the other one, and the rest of the countries can be either taken as one if they are super particular, but generally they are clustered. So we work in most of the industries with clusters of countries for the higher level, top management, this type of people. When you start to move your models to, let's say, my price recommendation is this for Peru. Okay, but when I go and talk to the person that will go and sell this price recommendation to the retailers, I need to go even to retailer level, right? Like I do need to go to the different areas or regions in Brazil, even in a small country. So the lower I go, the more actionable and the quicker they will buy my recommendation. But it's a balance at the end because I do have scarce resources, so I can go even to some level, and what I need and what kind of my approach is, I provide high level, mid-level recommendation. Maybe I go and tackle a specific case in some region because it's a lot of value, it's very important, but I want to enable people to do at least the basic analytics they can do with solutions self-serve, right? Like I enable you until here, and I will maybe do some model that covers your case, but the last mile that I cannot cover because I do not have that much people in my team, then I provide you the solutions so you can go and get into the store even if you want. So I kind of balance both of them.
Nice. One last question. I guess that much of the work that you do, you need to deal with a lot of unsupervised, unlabeled data, right? And with a lot of unsupervised methods.
Yeah.
So how do you do the validation of any method that you propose that you don't have the right answer for? So you have a model and you segment the markets in a tiny piece, and then you put the technique to like evaluation for a few days, and if it's good, then you expand, or if it's not, you kill it. How do you normally do it?
Yeah, sadly, I think that I almost always need to go and label data. So besides we do use unlabeled data, we try to then find what are the common features or attributes there in the clusters to kind of explain that to the business. More, again, because of the explainability. And in most cases, I do that unlabeled work with unlabeled data, but then I try to make that labeled. So I try to, okay, what are the important features here that I have not been, mapping, and I need to go and label the data to convert that abstract of features that I found from the clustering into a new feature in my data. So I need to enrich constantly my data. I need to invest a lot of time, and generally not necessarily my team, but people that does this type of more operational work for us doing that. But mainly basically because of explainability to the business, and because I need to always convert that into something they can understand. That's why it's super difficult for us to still move into black box models, because even unless you of course have some explainability options to make that at least heuristically understandable. If you are able to do that, you can go ahead, but generally I need to start with a other way around. So
okay,
yeah.
So what you do now, you start with the unlabeled, then you find some patterns. Based on that, you see some needs to label the data. You send that to a third party. They label to you, go back to you. Okay. which means, as Aurea is saying, a lot of opportunities for explainable artificial intelligence. Yep, this is what we do a lot in our lab. Exactly.
Definitely.
So again, consider our offer here, PUC-Rio and Unicamp. If you need partnerships in the universities,
Perfect.
we are open.
I will take
Thanks
that.
a lot once again
Thanks a
for
lot.
joining us for the talk. It was nice to see the kind of problems that you have. And as I told you, you suggested like some talks. We also have people to give talks at Coca-Cola, and I put myself available, and I'm sure that PUC-Rio also has nice people to do that. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
everybody for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good
Thank
night.
you, Marcos. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.